Welcome to 30 Minutes. I'm Rick Anthony. Every year at about this time, I receive an email from friends of mine asking for contributions to purchase Christmas gifts and Christmas meals for families who have family members who are afflicted with cancer. The fund is called It's All About Christmas, and its founder, Jerry Block, and a mutual friend of ours, Bob Madonna, have for the past 8 years been doing this every single year. That is, making appeals to their friends and other people they know and acquaintances with their hand out, asking for people to make donations so that they can do what's necessary to bring joy and some happiness to families who otherwise are struggling with the consequences of cancer, both financial as well as emotional, and I guess mostly emotional. Last year they raised $18,000. This year the goal is at least $18,000, if not more. And to help them achieve their goal, we've invited Jerry Block, the founder of It's All About Christmas, to be with us today to tell us about the program. Jerry?
Thanks, Rick.
My pleasure to have you here. I know I get those emails every year.
Yep.
They seem to be getting longer.
Yes. True.
From you or from Bob Madonna.
Right.
Bob would have been here today, except that he's recovering from surgery. So I guess he won't be lifting boxes and things like that during this Christmas season, but I know his spirit will be there. You've been associated with this now for, as I said, 8 years. You started it. What was the genesis? Why did you start it? You're a busy man. You've been in financial services. You keep a hectic schedule. Why this?
Well, in everyone's life, I think you come across an aha moment.
Yes.
So 8 years ago, I was in transition at that time, and I really got dismayed with sort of the commercialism of the holiday season in general. Yes. And out of the blue, I read an article. I read a story called The White Envelope. I'm not sure if you ever heard of it. It's called The White Envelope Project. The gist of it was this woman and her husband, he was a little bit like me in the fact that he got a little bit perturbed over the holiday season. Mm-hmm. So they went to a sporting event. They had 3 sons, and they went to a sporting event. And the sporting event, the opposing team did not have equipment. The school or whatever they're with didn't have enough equipment. So she, at that time, had an aha moment. The aha moment was she was going to provide this organization with helmets. I think it was a football game, and she would make that as a gift to her husband. Mm-hmm. What she did at that point is she didn't tell her husband. She made it a special time, and she wrote the story out. She put it in a white envelope, and she put it in the tree, in her Christmas tree. This is back in 1982, believe it or not. And she then, for many years, did the same thing every year. She surprised her husband with a gift of giving something to someone, a family, organization. Yes. Her husband died of cancer in 1982. I think it was the end of the story. But the neat thing about it, that Christmas, there were 4 white envelopes in the tree. She didn't know her sons were doing the same thing. Yeah. So I had this aha moment after reading that, and it's called the White Envelope Project, that I just wanted to do something. So long story short is I reached out to a friend who was very involved in the cancer world because his wife had died and he was starting his own foundation, and just asked for a family that I could help. I helped the family, and I put a white envelope in the tree. I showed up. Yeah. And we've done it every year. But the cool thing about it was that the moment for me was really saying I was really fortunate. I'm very fortunate, as you and I both are, and if I could do something, I would do it. So I did that first year, and that's how we started. The next year, I said, you know, I should get my friends involved. I sent out a note to 10 or 15 friends, and honest to God, Rick, within 24 hours, I had $1,000 from different friends. Wow. I went back to my buddy and I said, hey, I can do a couple more families this year. So we did 3 families that year, and my family helped. One of those friends was Bob Madonna. And Bob, if you know him well, he's got a great network.
Yes, he does.
He's got a great group of friends, probably one of the most loyal, biggest heart people I ever met in my life. He said, we can do more with this. I said, Bob, well, that's great, let's do it. So he and his wife, Debbie, and my wife, Mary, we ended up doing all the shopping and all the delivering to, I think that year, 4 or 5 families whose names we had gotten from an organization at the time called Great Guys Group, who dealt not with the cancer patient, but the families that were affected by cancer. Well, after doing that for 2 or 3 years and getting, you know, a few $1,000s from friends, our wives got a little perturbed. Because, as you said, we had busy schedules, and we were sort of last minute on this, and they were stuck with doing the majority of the shopping. The greatest part of the whole process, though, was delivering the presents to the families. And that first year I did that to the family, it was like your neighbor or my neighbor. It wasn't a poverty-stricken family. It wasn't someone in an area that, that you know, you would maybe think about. But the family had 2 children. The husband had been the breadwinner. He ended up getting cancer. They lost their medical insurance because he lost his job. They couldn't pay for their bills. They couldn't get presents. And that moment, going back to the aha moment, was that delivery to that family. And that's how we started. So it was really a special moment, and the family was a neighbor. I mean, they were around the corner.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I've found as well that I guess we're conditioned to believe that it's people in poverty who have the problems. It's people who are really disadvantaged, but they are in fact neighbors.
Absolutely.
And you might not otherwise know that they're in distress.
Absolutely.
Because they're brave and they carry it well, they handle it well, but they need help.
Absolutely. And many times people in general are too proud to reach out.
Yes.
So that's how we got started, and it's really grown since.
But now you work through 3 other nonprofits to vet the families.
Correct.
How does that work?
We teamed up with 3 groups one is called Bringing Hope Home, which used to be the Great Guys group, now, and For Pete's Sake, and Alex's Lemonade Stand. And we have teamed with them. They provide families to us. We've really refined the process. They provide families to us that are in need, as we just talked about. They provide a list of the family members, their ages, things they might desire for the holidays, not necessarily demand, just desire. And then we in turn now have elves that basically do the shopping and deliver the presents.
You're a small organization, really small, tiny compared to some of the others. And you're competing with all the others, large and small, for precious dollars at a time of year when the heart may be willing, but maybe the wallet isn't for many people. How do you deal with that? And connected, second question. Do you have the appeal only during this run up to Christmas, or do you have an appeal that runs throughout the year?
I'll answer the second part of that first. We get 99% of our quote-unquote donations between basically November 15th and December 15th, because that's the time we're doing quote-unquote most of the work. To answer the first part of the question, really, I think that the determining point with this is people get involved in this.
Yes.
Since Bob and I and our wives were doing most of the shopping, not doing all of it, and delivering the presents, and we expanded then from 2 or 3 to 4 families, and now we're up to 30 families. We couldn't do it. So what we did is we asked for donations, but then also asked many of the people, do they want to become involved with buying and delivering? So to answer that question is that I think because they're involved, they see where the money's going.
Yes.
The elves that are doing it are volunteers, and the stories we get back from them,
I'm sure.
Yes. Pretty neat stuff. But that's, I think, really the determining factor. And we're asking for anywhere from 5 to 10 we've gotten as much as $3,000 in one donation. But I think because they're involved, they're seeing it. They know Bob and I. We've only really reached out to acquaintances and friends, and it's just sort of people now write us. When are you going to ask for money? Which is a pretty cool thing. How often do you get that, right?
I'll say.
So in fact, it was just before we came in the studio. Someone called me and said, "I lost the address.
Yeah.
You know, I want to send it in."
On average, how much do you spend or allocate for each family?
We try to have the minimum of $500, and depending on how large a family is, we've gone up to as much as $1,000. So, for example, there's one family right now in right outside the downtown area that has 5 children, ranging in age from I think 18 down to 5, in a very similar situation of really tough. So that family will spend $800 to $1,000 and try to provide at least a little bit of smiles to the family.
So geographically, if we drew a circle from where we are sitting right now, is it, what, 25 miles, 50
It's
miles?
probably a little bit more than that. I mean, right now we're going out as almost to Harrisburg, although that's
Oh,
a little
really?
far. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
little far. We had one request from Allentown, and what I'll do with those, I'll ask people specifically, would you mind delivering to those
Right.
areas? And we've had a couple of people that said absolutely yes. But usually it's within 25 to 35 miles, to your point. We have a couple families this year in Marlton and one in Camden. So it's
Pretty well spread out.
yeah, it is. It is.
Uh,
Because it affects people everywhere.
yes, unfortunately,
Yeah.
yes. Do you try to select families who are first timers, or are there families that you help 2 or 3 years?
We
Successively.
ultimately like to help families that are first timers, but I can
Right.
tell you unequivocally, we certainly have helped families for a number of years. It doesn't go away. It many times the treatments continue and the same kind of trials and tribulations happen. I think one of the things which people are not aware of when we do it is that we give a lot of cards, Walmart, Wegmans. I mean, just
Yeah.
so they can have a good family meal on Christmas.
Yes.
Big deal. They can't afford even to have a turkey, and so we give them opportunity to be able to go shop as well.
So you don't give them the food stuff. You don't give them a box.
Well,
you give them a card to get what they want.
We've
Oh,
done both. Great story. I had one friend who delivered, was blown away, and went immediately to a grocery store and bought 2 weeks worth of groceries and went back to the house with them because of that kind of situation. He knew what they wanted and what they needed at that point after talking to him. Because everyone that delivers spends time with the family. We've had many people deliver the presents or the good wishes to the hospital. We've had many people meet in other areas where the need was most.
Jerry, as gratifying as this is, and I'm sure it is, it must also be frustrating because you see the enormity of the need. 30 is wonderful,
Right.
but it's barely a drop in the bucket.
Absolutely agree.
So do you cooperate with other organizations, both formal and informal, as yours is an informal organization, to continue to provide need to these families after Christmas?
Well, the nice thing about it is these families are being vetted from those types of organizations, so they're helping them ongoing.
Okay.
This is like a little icing on top of the cake for them in a time where they haven't escaped the issues. They haven't escaped the frustrations and the
Right.
sadness and the emotional letdowns. So we're just putting a little cherry on top of the
Yeah.
sundae for them on this.
In the email that I received a few weeks ago, there was excerpts from a letter that
Right.
had been received from one of your beneficiaries, the
Correct.
families.
Yep.
And I have it here, and I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind
Oh, I'd
reading
love
it.
to.
It's just 2 paragraphs,
Right.
but I think it's the 2 paragraphs that really tell the story.
This came from an individual I had not had a chance to meet. This was one of more than one letter she wrote. This is one of them. Words are not strong enough to tell you all how appreciative my husband and I are for all your help with our Christmas shopping this year. I work full-time and I'm used to being busy, but being a caretaker on top of a mom and teacher can also be very overwhelming. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you did to help us give our children a wonderful Christmas. They were just so excited to come down the stairs on Christmas morning to see all the presents under the tree. In this situation, it's fun because what we do is we do 2 things when we deliver the presents. I'm a little ad-lib here, but we ask them if they want the presents wrapped or unwrapped. And if they want them wrapped, we'll do that for them. And if unwrapped, we end up delivering wrapping paper along with everything they need for it. In this case, I think she took the time to wrap them, so she was
Yes.
involved in it. My husband's doctors gives him off for Christmas. He was able to skip one treatment, so he would not.
Want me to finish it?
No. Yes. Not be too sick. Sorry. Not be too sick to.
My husband, the doc gave him off for Christmas. He was able to skip one treatment, so he would not so he would not be too sick and weak to enjoy the holiday with his family. It was really a great day. I know that someday we'll be able to give back to others in a way that people like you have been giving to us over the past 2+ years. Thank you for simply caring about others. My son wrote a letter to Santa, and I sent it to the North Pole. He thanks Santa for all his presents and for making his Christmas wish come true, that Daddy doesn't have treatment for Christmas. I can see where that would kind of tear at you. And this must be representative of many letters you receive like this from people who really appreciate what you're doing to help them.
It's the best part.
I'm sure.
I'm sorry for being so emotional.
No,
I think it would
no,
be.
it's okay.
But yeah, we get a lot of letters, and the neat thing about it, we get the same kind of letters from the volunteers that deliver, more so because they get as much out of it as the families, and that's pretty cool part of it. The families that, again, the volunteers take the time to get to know them. Many of them remain friends throughout the year. They'll call on them. They'll check in on them. Oh yeah.
So they adopt the families.
Oh, absolutely. Not always, but certainly in a lot of cases.
How large is this army of volunteers you've been able to assemble?
Right now, we have more volunteers than we have families, believe it or not, which also spells out the great hearts of our friends and acquaintances. And so we have tried to keep it somewhat small. We've tried to keep it sort of concentrated.
Yeah.
I think if we expanded this, and it could grow really big, but we really wanted to keep it intimate. And we really wanted to focus in on just something we could grasp, and our people that were involved could grasp.
So you're not a 501c3?
Correct, we are not.
Did you have plans to become a 501c3?
We've talked about it a lot. We got the application and everything else. Why we did not become a 501c3 was really simply we're associated with 501c3s. So in essence, if people make a donation, we utilize those organizations for them to get a charitable deduction.
That's fine.
And each volunteer knows what organization the family is associated with, and therefore can utilize that going forward.
So my donation will be to one of the three, possibly one of the three vetting agencies?
It will be a donation would be to us,
right?
And then we have the families from the vetting organizations, and if people want to take the charitable donation, they can utilize that organization to take the donation with. Because we're delivering for, in essence, the organizations.
I got it. Okay.
Which
so people who want to make a donation yet this year, and is there a cutoff date?
No.
Here we are sitting on December 1st.
That's a great question. There's not really a cutoff date. What we try to do is provide, in all honesty, a sense of urgency to individuals. So as I said earlier, from November 15th to 12/15, we get the majority of them. Bob sent out a note, I think a week or so ago. Today is 12/1. I'll send out a note again this weekend, and we sort of asked to turn it around quickly. We do not have a PayPal account. We do not have a website up and running.
You keep it simple.
Really simple, and it's all word of mouth, and we have the checks either come to my house or to Bob's.
Are the volunteers now using their networks to solicit funds as well?
Great question. I'm going to give you two examples of how that worked. We have one group. It happens to be a car organization.
Right.
The owner of the car organization heard about us. He donated, I think, $300 the first year. Last year he came back to us and said, would it be okay if each one of my locations was able to take on a family where I could have my employees from each one of those locations?
What a great idea.
Unbelievable. So he uses it now as far as his holiday. And keep in mind, this is all about Christmas because that's how we started, but it doesn't need to be Christmas. It's just sort of the holiday time. Could be Hanukkah. I mean, that's not the important thing is helping the families. Another example is we had this is terrific, an organization who is into, I think it's insurance and financial advisement.
Right.
They made it into a project for the whole company. They have 8 teams internally. Again, this started because the owner made one donation, said, I can do more with this. So he has taken on 8 families alone.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll say.
It's pretty cool. Most people ask for more than one family. I have another, and this is great stuff. So there's another friend of mine. He got his children involved, and they're older. They're adults. So now he does it, his daughter does it, and his son does it. And they each take a separate family.
And that's a learning experience for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's terrific. Now, Jerry, with those kinds of stories, with that kind of experience, with the natural growth this has taken on, expansion, how could you not take this idea and you and Bob say, yeah, we've got something here. We can help 100 families.
We talk about that often.
I'm sure you do.
We do. The downside is we both work. And
Yeah.
we still need to, for the record, Bob is great, because when we started this, he was in business on himself. Now
Yeah.
he's the CEO of Surrey Services.
Yes.
And I think that's important because he continues to give back to
Sure.
the community. He's just the most amazing guy in the
Yeah.
world. Just amazing. So, but we talk about it often, and we true story. This week we talked about it again, and we'd like to keep it small, but realistically, the donations keep adding up every year.
Yes.
And so, at the end of last year, we said 30. Let's do 30 again this year. We could have done 35 or 40 last year. We could probably do 50 or 60 this year, based upon where I think we're going to end up. But the neat thing about it, what we've extended a little bit, is through the year we've gotten requests from
Yeah.
people, not for organizations, from people, and saying, I have this friend going through the same situation as a
Right.
family on the letter, which I got emotional about. And so during the year, we'll also help families totally arbitrarily. So
Have you become associated or affiliated with any of the church-based groups?
we have not.
Faith-based groups, I
No,
should
we have
say?
not. We've not.
Because I would see any one of them embracing this as well.
Yeah.
Although I guess that can get a little complicated.
Yeah, we have not done that. And again, we try to keep it small. And even talking about the website, we have a URL. We've got that all set up, but we just wanted to keep it simple and manageable, I guess would be the word. And to your point, I mean, we feel good that we can help 30
Yes.
families. The number is astonishing. And
Yes.
so then you ask the question, where do I draw the line? But I'm not sure where we're going to go with it. We're going to continue doing what we're doing, that's for sure. Commitment is there.
And the people, the families, rather, I guess it's adults who have cancer as well as children
Absolutely.
who are afflicted with cancer.
Yep, it's both ways. It's both
Right.
ways. Yep.
And is there any criterion as to how far advanced the cancer is? Is it terminal? Is it, you don't get involved in any of that?
I don't get involved in any of that. Most of them, of the patients, I believe, either being the parent
Yes.
or the child,
Yes.
really is at a point where it's pretty intense. A very heartwarming story in the sense of a bad situation. I had a family 2 years ago, and I wanted to deliver presents with, I have 3 boys who are now grown, and they have their own families. And we were going to go together to deliver. And the individual who I talked to was the father. He was infected with cancer. He was so appreciative. I talked to him 2 weeks before Christmas. We planned a date, and I gave him a call back on that date. He didn't answer, he didn't answer, he didn't answer. Unfortunately, he passed away. It was one of those tough situations. But I finally got in touch with his wife, and the neat thing about it was when she asked me to come, the entire family was there. It was after the funeral, and there were like 30 or 40 family members in the house. And I walked in.
Wow.
It was one of the coolest moments ever, and one of which my children will always remember.
Yeah.
So those are kind of things that happen, and many people, not many, but many have, I guess many of you have passed away that we've helped, but the families still remember it, and that's really a critical component of this.
Jerry, you may not be able to hold this back. Truly, you may not be able to hold this back. You may have to do some things in spite of, without losing the intimacy,
right.
The connectivity with the families.
Yeah. Well, the interesting, Rick, from that standpoint, we're only focused on 3 individual charities right now who've got the overall families for us.
Alex Lemonade and so on. Yeah.
Right, right. And we certainly could open it up to other organizations. And what we do for each one of those, we ask for 10 from each one. We've asked for a few more this year because we have so many volunteers, and I think we're going to end up being well over 30. But if we open it up to other agencies, again, we could grow exponentially because they do what they do. So Bringing Hope Home helps families with affected by cancer in paying bills, doing things around the house.
Yeah.
They will literally send in electric bills, and Bringing Hope Home will pay them, for example. For Pete's Sake is a respite program in the sense that they send families away when it's a real critical situation for their last, quote unquote, unfortunately, vacation.
Right.
Could be to the shore, it could be to Disney World, 2 different organizations. I think everyone pretty is familiar with Alex's Lemonade Stand, and they basically provide services to those affected by
Right.
cancer. So all three are in sort of a different genre of how they help families, and also different in how they fundraise for the most part too. So we could expand that, but these three organizations have been just amazing to work with.
Are you getting pressure from volunteers who
Yeah.
are saying to you,
Yeah.
come on, come on, come on?
Well, they're saying,
We
I
wanna
want
do
another
more."
family.
Yeah.
I want another family.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, but you're on it. I mean, you've already had examples, and I'm not telling you anything you
Yeah.
don't already know. You're a businessman. But the car dealerships and some of the other employers who are
Yeah.
taking this on as a holiday season project to help other people, that's marvelous.
yeah, it's cool.
I mean,
it's really cool.
that could be leveraged again and again and again.
Yeah, and I agree totally. I can't.
But you're right. It takes time and effort, and there's only so much of that.
Right, and you know, when it comes down to it, we know we could continue to build this, and we want to help as many families as we
Yes.
can. And going back in time, if Bob had not gotten involved, just for the record, it never would be to this point. Bob really saw a bigger vision and different ways of doing it, utilizing his network, and my network is pretty strong as well. But we
I
have
know
both
it is.
networks involved. But he was the driving force to make this happen. And if it had not been for our wives complaining about this last minute,
Yeah.
they loved it. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
no.
But it was like, okay, the guys are creating issues for us as wives, and all of that just came together. It just sort of came together.
You know, if I'd had the presence of mind, I could have announced it and promoted it at the last meeting of the Entrepreneurs Network.
That would have been.
There may still be an opportunity to send an
Yeah.
email out to
Yeah.
that rather large database.
Yeah. For example, Bob sends out, I mean, our database of just friends and acquaintances is probably 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 on the early
Yeah.
just from our overall network. And we don't solicit, we send out really one email.
No, it's not high pressure at all.
no,
It's
and-
here's what we're doing,
Yep.
and a quote like that,
Yep.
or an excerpt like that,
Yep.
which tells the whole story.
Yep. And the neat thing, I think, really, Rick, too, is that why we know it's been effective for everyone is because the same people keep contributing every year.
Yeah,
Which
that is
pretty
amazing.
cool.
Yeah.
And then we try to pick up extras, which
Yeah.
is great, but it's the same nucleus.
Okay,
that
so
continues to drive us.
let's summarize. The program is called
It's All About Christmas.
Christmas. We started 8 years ago. It's been growing ever since. Last year you raised $18,000. This year you hope to raise at least that much and more.
Yes,
You have to raise more if you're going to do 35 families.
right.
But you seem to feel that based on the experience, you can exceed 18,000 this year.
We hope to, yes.
You hope to.
Yep.
And those who are
With
interested,
everyone's help, I mean, that's what it boils down
well,
to.
those who are interested, I guess, since you have no website, you have
Archaic?
nobody answering telephones, none of that stuff. But they can contact you
Right.
at your website,
Right.
which I'm sorry,
Right.
your email address, which is
Jerry Block 1, the number 1,
Uh-huh.
JERRYBLOCK1 @gmail.com.
okay.
And then what would take place, I'd respond to them, and if they're interested in donating, we welcome it. Thank you so much. It's
Yeah.
terrific. And I'd provide my home address or Bob's home address at that time.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rick. Really
Thank you
appreciate
so
the
much.
opportunity.
And Merry Christmas.
And to you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Until next time, this is 30 Minutes. I am Rick Anthony. Remember, it's all about Christmas, but it's not just for those who celebrate Christmas. It's all of those who are part of the holiday season and have the season in their heart. Take care.